September 16th, 2013. Guys, there's an article today that's going around. I'll put a link to the paper. It's a European newspaper. But it's saying that a new report prepared by the Federal Space Agency, in Russia they call it the Roscosmos, says circulating in the Kremlin today that states that comet C12 S1 or C2012 as ISON has made a number of unexplained orbital adjustments around the planet Mars, seemingly to better align itself with the red planet's strange moon Phobos. Now, they've had trouble, the Russians had, with all of their Mars missions, guys. We saw Phobos Grunt come down. Phobos 1 was, they think, was shot down. They're not sure what happened there. Not sure if the U.S. did it or what happened. Now, there's also a professor there, Ignacio Ferrin, in Colombia, that says in a paper submitted to the monthly notices of the Royal Astronomical Society, further noted that Comet ISON has been on a standstill for more than 132 days. This is a close-up of that image, guys, and these are just various color temperatures. Again, not sure what that is behind the main object inside this coma. Again, it could be a star in the background. Not sure we'll know on the images that come in tonight if it's still in the same place. But again, it's interesting just to see the various temperature changes and the differences in the image as you change these colors. Now, we're talking about Phobos and we're talking about Mars, and this is this is a joke for NASA. Most of the shots that they send from their rover look like Arizona, New Mexico. But this is Phobos, and it's a strange moon. We're getting some satellite images of it, and there's some strange things on the moon. And this one, you may have seen, it was circulating a while, that they found a monolith on this moon, and that's a picture of it, and this is a close-up of this thing. And the reason I'm talking about Mars and Phobos and the things like that, if you remember in the Anunnaki story, the Agigi they control the Mars base for the relay of the gold, and they're the ones that came down and married the women on Earth, kind of took them hostage. This is also Phobos. There's supposedly a pyramid there, and this is kind of an image. It's drawn up that shows the Phobos orbiting around Mars and the Mars Express taking those pictures that you saw. Now, this is the image that we had in the video the other day, the close-up of ISON, guys. And one of the things I want to point out is that it does not look like a comet in the center. But one of the things that I believe was confusing people is that I said we had accounted for the parallax factor. Now, that would be these three gray balls that you see here are three different images. My point was inside each one of those are three objects. So if they put the same photograph side by side 3 times, there's still 3 objects in each one, just to get that out of the way. Now, also, guys, we're talking about something that goes back in Anunnaki history pre-Egypt. But the Egyptians were about as close, those guys and the Sumerians, as we're going to get to this ancient religion and this ancient knowledge. Guys, does that look familiar right there, that red winged object? Probably where the legend started. Now, guys, this is Amenhotep the Third. This is the Pharaoh that was the one after Moses got the Israelites out of Egypt. Now, look at these pictures. What do you understand what you're looking at? These are the people that Moses dealt with. This is the son of the Pharaoh that Moses personally had to deal with. These are the people that pulled Moses out of the water. They taught him all the secrets. He was called the Prince of Egypt. He was not an Israelite. This is Nefertiti. This is the woman that you just saw in the images holding the 2 daughters. These are the 2 daughters. They're not human. Now imagine Moses standing there and Pharaoh saying, "Moses, why do you really want to leave?" And Moses says, when your kids are kind of freaking my kids out with big heads, kind of. Now, guys, The reason I'm going to go here is because we're talking about white gold. We're talking about the Anunnaki gold and what it was used for. You know, there's reports that in the old stories they used it for their atmosphere, which could have been. They could have been chemtrailing because they say there were some nuclear wars there that diminished their atmosphere pretty bad. But another reason, and it goes back to the ancient Egyptians and the Sumerians and Moses, guys, is this white powder gold. And you see a rush on it now. We buy gold everywhere you look. But it's got to do with the human body and the body in itself and some of the research that they're doing. But you're looking at the DNA and the chromosome within the DNA. And what happens is as your cells divide, the tips of these chromosomes wear out. And you're looking at here when the cell divides, you see the 1, 2, 3. Each time it divides, it wears that tip down called the telomerase. The telomeres. And what they've done, they figured out is that because the telomerase is not there, these cells continue to split until they cannot do it anymore. When that tip wears off, or that telomere, then you start to die. The aging process, there's no more cell reproduction. Now, when they introduced telomerase, the chemical, into the cells, it says it's an enzyme that builds and maintains telomeres. It prevents shortening by adding extra pieces of DNA each time a cell divides. Now, on the right, you see the cancer cells and how they're active in dividing. That's how they discovered the telomerase. They were wondering, why are the cancer cells reproducing and very healthy in people that are old or young or in bad shape, but these cells are doing good. And they found that it was this telomerase. Now, when you're dealing with that, they found out that white powder gold, some of the silver metals, iridium, platinum, if they process it right, they can get this white powder. And this white powder goes back in ancient history. But this is a picture, guys, of what's called an immortal cell. Are you listening? This telomerase makes those cells immortal. So they're experimenting now, and it may help with cancer research. But here we're talking about the DNA, and it's a lot in this video, I understand it. But it says humanity's 120 variations have been divided into 33 subunits known as haplogroups. Those 33 are derived from 7 ancient females whom geneticists calculate were the founding matriarchs of our species. The 7 Daughters of Eve, it's a book by Brian Sykes. It says this: every variation between every human haplogroup is well known and chronicled, and every human belongs to one of the 33 groups listed. Now, Moses was taught this alchemy. That's what it was when they knew about this. Now, what happened in Exodus, guys, you want to go there and read it as we look at some of these images of the helicopters and planes that were discovered inside the pyramids. But Moses went down from the mountain. Remember in Exodus, he came down, he found the golden calf that Aaron had made a fire for and got everybody to throw their gold in, and he came out a golden calf. Well, that's not how you make the white powder gold. That's just melting gold and putting it in a different form. But Moses came down, he was mad, he burnt the calf in fire, ground it into what? A powder, scattered it in water, and forced the Israelites to drink it. It says Aaron admitted collecting the gold and throwing it into the fire along with the cutting wood. He said it came out as a calf. Moses gave these people this anatomic gold, or monatomic gold, excuse me. And it says they walked in that wilderness. They never got blisters on their feet. But guys, we're talking about Mars. We're talking about incoming objects. We're talking about the gold market today. Now here it says white powder gold exists naturally in your body and is contained in small amounts in the herbs and foods that enhance the immune system and regeneration. The Egyptians and others created them in pure form. They understood an important alchemical quality regarding the use of these sacred monatomic elements to accelerate the ascension process. Egyptians initiates often fasted prior to and during the consumption of white powder, gold as monatomic rhodium and iridium. It says this was not only for purification, they believed that the digestive acids in the stomach neutralized some of the alchemical products of the monatomic elements. Now, Moses was taught this, guys. Again, the Prince of Egypt. He knew this stuff. And look at the people he was dealing with. Now, the Hebrew word ormus means golden tree. And it's talking about the white gold and the elixir of life that the showbread and manna was made from. The white powder on the ground the Egyptians gathered up. This is said to be the reason the priest glowed when it came out of the Holy of Holies after eating the showbread. Guys, it was a specific way that had to be made. Special ingredients, 12 loaves brought into the temple, left so many days for this god to consume, and the priest could eat the rest. And remember when Moses came down that he was glowing, guys. And they have found that near that mountain, a foundry to make white powder gold. There was even some of it scattered around. That's where this manna was coming from, guys. Now, when you think about this, how does it apply? What are we looking at? And this question was brought up the other night after an iSun video, guys. What does it mean? Now, this is the Pharaoh that Moses had to deal with. Now, look at this, and look at the head, guys. These were not humans as we know them now. But it reminds me of some of the things that they talk about. We're talking about the reptilians. Look at that. They talk about the vulture rites. You know, both of those were represented in Egypt. Here you have the crocodile king being given showbread. This is where the reptilian started. This is where the stories about the reptilian started. And also the vultures or the vulture rites that are still dealing with us today, guys. There's a battle. The battle over Iraq just happened to get into those libraries. The whole Middle East is in an uproar. It's because of this. It's not about the little things that mans are doing. This is a cosmic battle to rule the world. That evil still exists, and these characters that you're looking at have their minions. The U.S. is one of them. Heads up.